Okay, good afternoon. Panel number 2 with his youth and drug preventions. And we have Pastor Freddie Rosario, Elder Brother John Kennedy, Elder Brother Jimmy Smith, and Sister Christiane Martin. So thank you for being here. We're talking about our youth and our drugs. So I'm going to start with Brother John. Brother John is familiar with me. We went to take someone to a drug rehab program, and he was able to see him afterwards. I think I asked you this before when we did the program, but you saw before and after pictures. So give us a little feedback from your before and after thoughts that you saw.
Yes. As Pastor Ham is alluding to, I was here and got acquainted with the young man that was here and knew some things that he was going through and dealing with. And what I did see in him in the short period of time that I was acquainted with him is that he was ready to go to rehab, and because he felt that he was at a point where nothing was changing for him, and with prayer and counseling from Pastor Ham, that decision was made, and in our conversation, the excitement was there, and I had the privilege to make that trip to the rehab facility with Pastor Ham and the client, and having some conversation with him on the way up there really helped me to understand that he was ready. And so of course we're praying all the way, because part of the acceptance is passing a drug test. And that was my prayer as I was sitting there, that God will, prevail in that way. And we got there just excited about the facility and different ones coming up to us that was a part, that was clients there as well as counselors there, and we just felt the peace of knowing that that was the place for him. He got more excited and even more excited when he did pass the drug test. But just seeing the young man after going through and making some contact with him through letters, of course, while he was there, encouraging his time there to make every minute count, so to speak, which he did. And once he was out, and me and Pastor Ham keeping a contact as to updating me on how his recovery was going. And then for me to actually see him after being released, yes, total transformation, and just a different conversation coming from the young man, and I was glad to be a part of that in prayer and support in the ways that I was.
Thank you. Okay, Pastor Freddie understands about the drug scene, and so I think I asked you this before, but I'd like to ask you again. The older you, how about talking to the younger you? If you was young again, what would you tell the younger you if you was 18 or 19 again?
Well, 18 or 19 is 18 and 19, but the spirit never dies, because drug abuse and drug use has been around since the beginning of time. It advanced through technology. It advanced through, man's involvement, right? But I can say this from my experience. I got caught up in the heroin when I was 14 years old. I started shooting heroin and cocaine, and I got stuck on the drug pattern for over 26 years. I traveled the world extensively in the music industry. But what changed my life was a visitation that I had. Now watch now. In order to be free from drugs, your mind has to be made up that you want to move forward. And see, many people who don't understand, especially drug counselors, they're technically, knowledgeable, but they don't have the experience because they don't know the hurt, the pain, they don't know the whys, and there's no excuses. But what causes drug use is many different things. So what went down for me, mine came through a lot of abuse, mine came through a lot of other things. But when I got into the music industry, I made a lot of money. And so I got caught up in other things, the psychedelics, the cocaine, all of that, right? And it took me all over the world. And I saw drugs used in every part of the earth. Holland, Sweden, Prague. I've seen it, in all the Caribbean. I've seen it everywhere. It's not just in America where the crack habit is bad. Crack is everywhere. Powder is everywhere. Heroin, weed is everywhere. You can't escape it. But what's happening up here, in order for us to get to these youth right now, we're going to have to demonstrate Christ. So somebody's got to be willing to go get dirty. So that means now you got to go into the trenches. And that's what God taught me through my deliverance from the drugs. When I went to the ministry, I had an audible visitation, and God spoke to me at a place called Camden Hall, 1990. And he told me to run at 725 Laney Walker Boulevard, find Darryl McCoy. He's going to teach you about my love. And in that visitation, he said, you'll get a new wife, new children. I'm going to restore your life. I'm going to repair you. And I ran. And I've been running ever since. And man of God, I'm going to tell you something. I've watched people go through the fire. I've watched preachers fall. But I've learned something about in drug use. What we are, we cover. We don't make excuses. We cover. For a person that wants to overcome drugs, they have to first realize that I'm stuck. I've had that happen with my own children. Daddy, I'm stuck. I said, what do you want to do? Well, you know how to pray. Our prayer life is one thing. Inside of their hearts, their minds got to be persuaded that they want help. And to get help, the drug clinics are good. But after a while, you can't get stuck in theory because it's further on than that. Because therapeutically, it becomes something else. And it becomes indoctrination. And then they give you one drug to cover another drug. They tell a cocaine user, an amphetamine user, there's no help for us. They give heroin users more drugs to suppress that are worse than the heroin. So we're in this society right now that God is knocking on these doors through these little interviews so that we can bring awareness. Now, Camden County has to change. And it's not about the police department. I don't knock them. It's some good policemen. It's not about ministries because God is no respecter of person. It's about demonstration. We can talk this thing, but can we do this thing? That's why I'm here.
Okay, so you're saying the young people are watching us and they need to see an example.
They hear everything we talk about. They look at every move we make. You'll be surprised.
Oh yeah, we yes sir. You're right. That's good. That's good, Brother
And they
Jimmy.
talk about you all the time. That they know that you're an advocate, and they can get help, especially my son.
Well, they asked me about him. I want you to meet Pastor Menifee because he want to meet you.
Yes.
He's the one that's got the brother. He's from Cleveland.
Yes.
So we got to call. We talked to him once. We got to give him a call and check in on him.
Well, then
his
he
son.
needs to give me a revival so I can come up there and have revival among all the youth up there. I need to go up there and preach then. How about that?
Hey, we'll talk to him and see. Hey, you never know.
Let's do it.
Amen. Brother Jimmy has been with me. He's a cross between a big brother. I call him the Godfather, and his wife. They pray, and Brother John and his wife, and the Lord has allowed this to happen through you guys. I mean, y'all behind the scenes, but you push me, you pray for me. When I'm about to overdo, you check what you doing. So I'm listening because I be working all the time, so I'm guilty, but I'm trying to listen. In accountability, Sister Christian, they know I'm trying. I'm just used to working y'all, but with the youth, you've been around kids, and they getting drugs younger. They starting in elementary school. And so it's different. I mean, you know, before the people hide, they wouldn't let you see it do it. The preacher come, they hide, you know, but nowadays, hey, Pastor, you want some? So you know, it's different. So what would you say to the 5th and 6th graders that somebody may be trying to get them to do drugs?
You know, coming from law enforcement, I retired. I was the commander of the Criminal Investigations Branch in San Francisco. And I can't tell you the number of kids that we locked up, my unit locked up. And the majority of them all was because of drugs and that gangster hip-hop method attitude that they see on TV, they hear on the radio, and they see from their big brothers, their uncles, their dads, if they're there. 9 times out of 10, the fathers weren't there. We would go talk to the mom. You know, where's your dad? Well, he's in jail. Well, I don't know my dad. And I think what's happening with all of this defund the police, I'm a police officer, I'm a former police officer. There's no way this society, the way it's going, can live without the police.
Right.
There are some bad police, don't get me wrong. There are some bad police, they need to be dealt with. But when you defund the police, when you take away bail, when you take away charges in San Francisco, if you can commit a crime up to $950 and there's no penalty. So if I could do that 5, 6, 7 times a day. So the young kids see that. They see their big brothers, they see their dads, they see their uncles, and they see friends doing these crimes, coming back, smoking dope, all types of, like the brother was saying, it's not just marijuana now.
Right,
it's so easy to get it now, but the fentanyl coming in. Now the kids are dying because it's been disguised as something that's good for you, and in reality it's not. And I think the Bible tells us these things are going to happen. What was good is bad, and what's bad is good. And I think this is a sign of the end times. But in the Camden County, when my kids were growing up back in 1995, 2000, there was nothing for them to do.
Right.
Today, there's nothing for them to do. So what happens is they sit around, they see TV. Camden County is not San Francisco, but they have the same opportunities, the same vices that they have in Washington, D.C., where I grew up, in New York City. The thing is, here, it's a little bit more formalized. It's a little bit more laid back. And it's not the hardened crime that you see. But the drugs don't care where you from. It can kill you in Camden County, it can kill you in New York City. And we got to get these young kids to understand that just because the laws are not as stringent as they used to be, you can go to jail for this stuff, and depending on where you are and the circumstances you get yourself caught up in, you can go to jail for a long time because drugs lead to something else. If you like the drugs, then you're going to commit a crime to get more money to buy the drugs. And now you're talking about burglary. Now you're talking about a robbery, breaking into the store. And those are the things that get the police involved. And then, you know, the media has one view of the police. The citizens have another view of police. But we have to get these kids to understand that right is right, wrong is wrong. We have to have places for them to go, things for them to do, and give them alternatives, because one drug will lead to another.
That's right.
And that drug may be good for a moment, but anything that you do that's sinful is going to have a toll on your body. God will forgive you, but your body may not forgive you, down the line. So.
Okay, good. Well, we're going to continue in just a moment. We want to talk about the church, because I don't think the church is doing what they can as far as the youth and the drugs. And the key thing is being available, and we have to do things different. When we grew up, we went outside and played cowboy and Indians, riding our bicycles. They don't go outside today. Now they're on these computers, on these cell phones. So we have to grow with the young people, what's out there in the world. And even what you said about drugs, the environment doesn't matter. The internet and cell phones have connected drugs worldwide. Okay, no matter where you are, drugs and the internet is almost everywhere. So that's our vice. That's really a big problem. So, okay, continue with the drugs with the church. Sister Christiane has been around. As a matter of fact, we did a couple things on Friday nights with the kids, and that went really well. I heard him say the churches need to get more involved. What would you recommend churches do on a Friday night or Saturday night for the kids?
You know, thinking back to what we do now, what I see with other groups that my children have been involved with, and what I went through when I was a kid, we need to accept the kids where they are. I mean, if they want to have purple and green hair, we can't be judging them. A church cannot be judging them when they walk in, and we're all part of the church. You know, I remember when I was young and we were going through a lot of stuff. and I started down a bad path that I shouldn't have been. And the church wouldn't let me participate in the family nights because I didn't own a dress. I owned one pair of pants and lived in a van. Wow. And they made it very loud. I wasn't able to. And now I think churches are more understanding about things like that. But I've been into other churches where a child's different, looks different. You can tell they're maybe a little confused. And instead of trying to embrace them and let them know they have a safe place to talk to, they build up a wall by giving them, like I said, one night I was watching a side eye, just like, you know, and that's not, these kids, especially if we want to catch them when they're young, and start building them up to have trust, because a lot of times they don't have trust in home if they're dealing with alcoholism or drug addiction, homelessness, or a parent that's having to work 3 jobs a week, you know. And I think that that's what, and I'd like to think that's what our intent was here, but I think that we can always improve on it everywhere. Right. But that is really, that was one of my saddest memories as a Christian. Yes. And it was also one of my saddest memories as I've been an adult working in churches and seeing it happen all my adult life. And, you know, we just got to make sure it's not just because your sister's Jordan's child and, you know, you're being a little odd, so, but we're still going to let you in, but your mom and daddy don't come here, so, you know, whatever. It's just making sure that it doesn't matter who you are, what you come from, what you bring to the table. You're bringing you, and you're a beloved child of God.
Amen. Well, when the church get that right, we can move forward. Because to me, and part of my problem statement is the church is the problem. It's not the world. The church is the problem, because we judge people. You know, we look at, and I was one of those people. If you wasn't saved, I wasn't saved. I was quiet as a church mouse. If you wasn't saying Jesus, I didn't say nothing till I said hi and kept moving. Yeah. Kept to myself. And I think I shared this with you. We was at the child. This guy just came and just hugged me. I was like, and he said, we just want you to eat with us. But I was like, I had to think about it, because I grew up in an environment. If you wasn't saved, you didn't deal with people that wasn't saved. So like you said, I had to strip my upbringing, my values, and say, okay, I'm just going to take it for who you are, and if we can talk, that's fine. If not, I still got to love you. And I've learned to love people with different color hair, with their pants hanging down. Oh, yeah. And because I'm not being Christ-like if I don't do that. So, and I learned a lot from him, because he don't say that, he just be watching. I'm like, okay, don't say that, just look, you know, because I mean, my friend, he needed some help, and I'm like, dude, you don't know how to do this? And he's like, okay, be cool. I'm like, man. So, and again, this is why I'm glad to have you all here, because you said that we have to love them where they are. We have to love them where they are. So, Pastor Fred, I'm really looking forward to see what God is going to do, because I'm here. You say energy, I'm hearing your energy. So I'm like, okay, Lord, because I love to see when God does stuff. So,
you know, man of God, I had this procedure last week, right? And it freaked me out, man. It was like going to Star Trekville, you know. So the VA hit me up with one of them Star Trek things, you know what I'm saying? And they did this laser Star Trek stuff, man. I'm like, man, that was quick, but it left me just tore up, you know, because they going to give you the cocktail. They going to give you the drip, right? And they said, do you want some hydrocodone? I said, Well, you need pain management. I said, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I can't take Tylenol. I can't take that. I'm going to take my big old right hand. I'm going to decree the word, and I'm going to command my flesh to line up. And look here, I went through 4.5 days of some real tight stuff, right? Now, after I came out of that one, I made my mind up the more, so I'm going to get out there, and I'm going to keep sacrificing to get to these kids. The parents are finding me. When is church coming up, Pastor? And I told them, I said, I'm not looking at what your flesh is doing. If I look at your flesh, I miss what God is saying. You have a soul. And he says, come as you are. He didn't say nothing else. Then he said, many may be the afflictions of the righteous, but we shall be delivered out of them all. He didn't say what your affliction was going to be. And then I love it when Paul said, man of God to us preachers, I become all things to all men.
Well, it's a great time for churches to be able to do it. So, again, I think you are making a clarion call for the church to step up to the plate, especially for our young people. And again, all we want to do is make it safe for them so that they can be happy and enjoy. And I am so concerned because my undergrad is in criminal. I go to the jail.
Yes.
So, you know, either you can go to jail or you can go to church.
Yeah.
And you have to be that real. What I learned from the young people, they want you to be real.
They want you to be real.
I've learned from them, if you're real, they will, because I heard you talk about trust, they have to know that they can trust you.
Yeah.
And once you get that, and I heard you say advocate, and that's why, guys, I try to be, he could tell you, we don't have people pass out and been through with people staying here. But I've learned to just, you know, take them where they at, and God give me grace and patience, and it's been a growing process, but I'm seeing the fruit of the labor as I see people move up, you know, into the ranks of taking our place. What we should be looking at is who's going to take our place, who's going to take your place at the church, who's going to take your place. So we should be getting somebody to work us out of a job. That's what we should be doing. And this is for the kingdom now. Because imagine 5 years from now, what is the world going to be like? What about young people going to be? If you keep watching the news, you'll get discouraged.
Yeah, you will.
But you say, Lord, your word says, you told me my children are going to be all right.
Yeah.
You told me everything. It may not look, I heard you say, it might not look good.
May not look.
But don't go by what it looked like. Don't even go by what it feels like or what you think. Lord, you told me. And I'm going to hold on to that.
You know.
And so one thing I'm really excited about is the boxing coach, they want to do a mentorship program with the two guys that was helping me. The one that's going to your school, he's had his 50th college reunion.
Wow.
And they're going back this weekend for homecoming.
Cool.
And so a lady from our church in Florida
Yes.
has seen her friend in 60 years.
Wow.
So how about the lady went to his school? So we got them back together. So the young man from here got a scholarship to his school, is going to play football there.
Wow.
And this is why I keep doing so. The kids, his older sisters, they were in my program. One has a master's in journalism. The other one went in the Navy. One of the boys is a CPA tax attorney. So I'm asking those kids to come to mentor the younger ones. And so we're looking forward to that.
You know,
So,
man of God, if we can get into these dung heaps, if we be willing to volunteer to dig in, and whatever portion that God would place in your heart with the courage to want to do it, then once we get in there and start troweling and tilling this ground, I really believe we're gonna see some crop. You know, and the thing about it, we can't be afraid of it. I remember the time, but she said about the hair thing, man, I was thinking about the time we were coming out with the froze, you know, with the Afro picks and all that. And look how they knocked us, you know. You know, I'm talking about, you know, hey, y'all are messed up, right? No, listen, history repeats itself in different formulas. So we're gonna have to make room for their error and their mistake, because God makes room for us every day. Because there's one scripture that should never escape us. All have sinned and come short of the glory of God. Nobody in here, I don't care who you are in ministry. At the beginning of the day, you're nothing. In the middle of the day, you're nothing. At the end of the day, you're nothing. All things are operating through the power of God. It ain't about your name, how many members you got. Right. It's about the love of Jesus Christ. Yeah. Yeah.
You see, we talking about the youth. We have a special person. I'm not going to call his name. Her young person is here. Her favorite person is here. And so God is blessing us to get a kitchen. And so I don't know if she'll wave at us or whatever, but I'm just thankful that we could see light at the end of the tunnel. I think I told you earlier that we look to be hanging sheetrock this week. Yes. And we saw Mr. Keith earlier. So we got to get a few more pieces and some installation, but we're looking to get that going. And then again, that could be more stuff for the kids. You know, they can come on Friday nights and have some things. So again, we have to come out the box. We have to be accepting, and we have to love them where they're at. I think that's the key thing, love them where they're at. And the Bible even says, the people we know that we're his disciples by the love that we have. You can't have no big cross on your neck. You can't be preaching and not loving people, because they watch. You said they're watching us.
Love is the ultimate goal. It's all about love. God is love. See, and so what happens, I think what has happened inside of the church world through the years is a doctrine that has taught us, and that's all we know, to run for our soul salvation, right? We cut everybody else off because they don't live, wear how we dress, you know, cut our hair like we, no. All souls belong to God. And so when God gets back and lets you see yourself, and then begins to let you smell yourself, even after he saved you. What? No, it don't. So God just wants us to yield and remember something: we are helpless. Nobody can do. Our intellect, all this knowledge, all this technology, we didn't just go pull it out the ceiling. He let us obtain it, and then let us store it away in little compartments called the brain. Now, if he wanted to just erase it, he can do it any time. God has been magnificent toward us all. Yeah, he has. Yes, he has.
We'll say this, I know it's about time to wrap it up. What would you want to leave to the young people today? What would you say to the young people?
Trust us. Okay. We'll trust you. And you trust us.
Okay. Trust. Okay. Wow, that's deep. Okay. Brother Jimmy, what would you say to the young people?
You know, like in Rehoboam, he talked about, he asked his friends he grew up with, you know, what should I do? How should I treat my people? And they told him, be nice to them. But then the son asked his friends, the young people, and he says, make it worse than what it was. He said, I'll put scorpions on you. You can't always listen to your friends. You have to listen to your elders. You have to listen to people who have an interest, that have showed a sincere interest in you, you know, and that's the people who are working together to help them. Don't listen to your friends. They don't know. They're going through the same thing you're going through. They may not have no idea what tomorrow brings. They never bought a car. They never purchased a house. They've never been pregnant. So we need to give them that back knowledge so they don't have to go through some of the things that we went through.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Brother John?
Yeah, and I would go along those same lines. It's, you know, we as adults, and we're having young people in our lives, for the young people to know we're just trying to keep them from experiencing those hard things that we've experienced, and for God's love to be received by them, you know, in a personal way. And not to say that all things are going to be good, but when we experience those tough times, that we know that we can turn our hearts towards God and lean on Him for delivering us, setting us apart from that. And another thing too is there's some good young people out there. Yes, it is. And when you as a young person know that adults have been, you know, trying to get you to go in another direction, look at some of those kids that are around you that you're wondering why are they not, you know, experiencing some of this stuff, is, you know, become their friend. Listen at them, because I'm sure they are approaching you as well. So it's for your benefit. We love young people. You know, we are adults, and again, we don't want you to suffer as some of us have.
I like that you say we don't want them to suffer. And you know, I think Pastor said this, the world is not as kind as it used to be. See, it's different. These kids, are not, the drugs that they're taking now, they're not going to make it. I've seen people do marijuana one time and get a heart problem. They can't do it no more. Their heart stop palpitating. Everybody can't do drugs. Some people can do it and drink, do it like a champ. Some people do it and they take them out. So you have to know your limitations. Your body will let you know when things not right for you, but you have to listen. And I think the thing today, they call it peer pressure, but you sort of said this, you have to have a mind of your own. Don't just follow the kids jump off the bridge. Don't you jump off the bridge because everybody else doing it. You better think for yourself. A lot of people just, oh, I got to fit in. I got to be part of the crowd, like suicide, and we'll talk about that in our next session. A lot of people are committing suicide, and they're doing what everybody else do. Oh, can you put it on mute for me, bro? Yes. Yeah, they're doing what everybody else is doing. You don't do what everybody else is. They go out there and steal something. You gonna steal? Sorry. They go out there and kill somebody? Yes, sir. You have to have your own mindset, and that shows character. That shows that you're an individual who God made you, and it's critical that we reach our young people because it is so out of control now. So we just got a couple more minutes. We're going to pause for a second. We'll come right back and wrap up the last 10 minutes.